Hi, Simchafeuerman here to talk to you about couples therapy for couples from a couple who happen to be therapists. So some people wonder what it's like to be married to a therapist when you yourself are a therapist.
That's actually a question I have gotten many times. And I think that if one of us was not a therapist, there would be a power differential and the potential for the person of the couple of us who was the therapist to possibly exploit the psychological insights and vulnerabilities of the other and use that as a power play.
Right, we're
But
very careful not to hit below the belt. We don't throw at each other our childhood injuries
yes,
or things.
that's right. We
Certainly
don't.
not in the heat of an argument.
Right, and because we are both therapists, we're able to check each other, and we do ensure that any kind of analyzing or insights that we have because we're therapists that we use in our interacting is completely sincere and for the other's benefit.
Right, so we don't use our interpretations, we don't weaponize them against
Right.
the other person. And so, what advantage could there be to a couple seeing either a husband or wife who are both therapists, maybe one person seeing one spouse or the other person seeing the other spouse, or maybe seeing the couple together as a couple? What advantages and possible disadvantages are there?
Well, I think over time we have come to recognize a cluster of benefits to a couple seeing a couple for therapy. And in our case, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the two of us are so very different. Our personalities are different, our therapeutic training is different, the different problems that we treat can cover so much more, and our ways of thinking are different and our expertise is different. So we bring so much more to the table and so many more years of experience. So it's about 50 years instead of about 25 plus.
And then there's the fact that I'm more of a linear analytic type of thinker, and you're more of an emotional intuitive type of thinker. And even though we both could sometimes be arriving at the same conclusion, sometimes not, sometimes we could have very different ideas. But even when we have the same idea, we represent it in different language, and that's very helpful because I know that I can sift through a lot of data and consider what each thing, the value, and you just like right away think of where it strikes you, and your intuition can be very powerful. And so I
Thank
think
you, and your analytical abilities are so very helpful when it comes to couples problems because you can just analyze the details and break it down like a math problem, and you do that so well.
But then I get lost in thought and analysis, and you just say like, Simcha, like, what's the story over here? Like, what difference does it make? Somebody is suffering or somebody's feeling something, and you have a very good way of tuning into that.
So our differences are respected by both of us, and the couple gets to see modeling of how we think differently and respect our differences at the same time. There's another issue that has to do with the benefits of seeing a couple, and that is that when a couple comes to see an individual therapist, there are times when one or the other is going to feel that the therapist is taking sides. And that could be very uncomfortable because it could feel like two against one. And here, there's a balance. When you have two therapists with a couple, then the room is balanced out. There's 4 people in the room instead of 3. And if one of the therapists seems to be taking the side of one of the spouses, the other therapist, one of us, would compensate and cover and help the other spouse feel supported, and we've done that.
Yes, I think that's very powerful. Even if there isn't bias, there's a sense of bias, and sometimes there's genuinely bias. And 4 heads in a room, and we do work collaboratively. The other 2 people in the room count very much too, and so 4 perspectives can really help address many of the concerns. And then, of course, there's also therapists that somehow, I'm not saying intentionally, but when you see an individual therapist, there's like a marriage bashing that could sometimes happen too, because it's inevitable that the individual therapist is going to, in some way, take the side of their client and not necessarily take into account the viewpoint of the spouse. But here you have this ability to take into account all those perspectives, which really could I think, forestall sometimes hurtful marriage bashing that happens when, of course, there are genuine injuries and problems that occur in marriages. The question is, what do you want to do? Which brings us to the other idea, and that is that we have this experience that we offer couples, which is a marriage 911 multi-day couples coaching boot camp, where we really help couples work together in an intensive way to address their relationship challenges. And we've done this together, and I thought you might want to say something about that too.
Sure. So this experience for couples is for couples who are having difficulty with patterns that are getting in the way of them feeling good with each other, and don't feel that divorce is the solution, but rather feel that they want to fix it. They want to problem solve. The bigger picture is it's positive, and they just keep getting stuck. But divorce is not their go-to. So for couples who might have serious psychiatric challenges, or couples who are thinking that divorce is a likely solution, probably our couples experience that we offer is not for you.
It's not to say that therapy can't help, it's just to say that this intense experience that we offer over a few days is best for people who are very committed and very motivated to working on their relationship.
Yes, both equally committed to figuring it out.
So we are very grateful to people who take the time to listen to our videos, and we appreciate our audience.
We do
very
appreciate
much.
our audience very much, and for those of you that we've had the privilege of working with individually and as couples.
Thank you so much.